We'll be illustrating the solution for this problem using the following input array, which contains integers 3, 15, 9, and 1. And the expected output is 15, 9, 1, and negative 1. A few things to note beforehand is that we would be implementing this solution as an in-place operation, which means we would not be using any additional space, so we will not be creating a new array. Basically, that means it is going to be a constant space operation, which means it would be space complexity of O of 1, which is constant. The time complexity is going to be linear, which is O of n, and the reason for that is because we will be iterating from the right instead of iterating from the left. So we will be going from 1 to 9 to 15 to 3. So I would create a few variables here to keep track of what we're doing. We have a max variable which holds the current max value that we are at, and we will be updating that as we progress, comparing it with the current element that we are at. This would have a default value of negative 1 because the equation specifies that the last item in the array should be negative 1. And since we are iterating from the right to the left, we would visit the last index here, or the last element, which would be set to negative 1. We have our iterator here, I, which would set to the value 3. The reason for this is that arrays use a zero-based indexing approach, which means this is index 0, 1, 2, 3. And we have just a variable here to store the current value that we're at. So we take the first step, which is going to be setting the current element that we're at. We're at index 3. The current element at index 3 is 1. So we replace the last element here, which is 1, with the value we have, with the max we have seen so far, which is negative 1. So this would be negative 1, 9, 15, and 3. We decrement I by 1, so I goes to become 2. But also note here that we have a new max value, which is the current value that we saw. So I max becomes 1 at this point, and we decrement I by 1. So the current value at index 2, this is index 3, this is index 2. The current value at index 2 is 9. We already have a max value that we have seen from the previous operation, which was 1. So we replace the index 2 with the max that we have so far. So that would be negative 1, 1, 9, 1, 15, and 3. Now we decrement I by now we also update our max, so our max is now going to be what was here, 9. So we decrement our I by 1, so it becomes 1 here. Now we are at index 1. The value at index 1 is 15. So we update the current max in the array for index 1. So that would be negative 1, 1, and the current max that we are at is 9, and we retain 3. Now we have a new max, which is going to be 15. We decrement our I by 1, which makes it 0 now. What is the value at index 0? that is 3. And we already have a max of 15 from the previous operation. So we have -1, 1, 9, and 15. We've basically reached the end of the array, because then we're at index 0, and anything beyond that is going outside the boundary of the array. So we return the output as 15, 9, 1, -1, and this basically ties the same with the expected outputs. Let's get into the code walkthrough. For this question, we create a function called replace elements, and that takes an array. We declare a variable called max, which holds the current max that we are at. We initially set it to -1, and we have a variable n which holds the length of the array, and we have a variable called current, which is undefined for now. We would set the value as we iterate through the array. We have our for loop here, in which we declare a variable I starting from n-1, because we are starting from the right. I is going to be greater than or equal to 0, and we would continually decrement it by 1. We set the current value that we are at to the variable current, and we set the value that we're at to be the max that we have seen so far. Then we recompute the max using the math.max method, which takes the current max and the current variable, or the current value, and at the end we return the array. So let's copy this and try pasting it on LeetCode. So I have the question open in a new tab, and I would simply replace the existing default code here with the code I copied, and try to run this. So this passes, and if I try to submit it, it is also successful. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thank you.